Hello, it's Dr. Janie Pendleton with my husband, Dr. John Pendleton, and we are back with Maranatha Minutes. I hope we have the lighting up bright enough for you tonight. All right, we want to thank you for joining us. We love that you're peppering us with questions. We said we was going to cover some more of a beginning 2013's question that she had for us previously, and so I'm keeping my word on that one. Now, in her question, she also asked, she still doesn't seem like she can trust the Bible, basically, is what she's saying. She thinks the Bible was written by men, and this is what, you're not alone in this either. It's probably our number 3 or number 4th question that we get is, can we trust the Bible? And how was the Bible made? How was it created? A lot of people are under the notion that the Pope was the first to write the Bible. They think of the King James Version, written in the 16th century.
Yes.
So, so 16th century. So think of what will be 16 centuries from now. So today, John and I, we wanted to talk about, can we trust the Bible? We're going to talk about that first. We're going to split the questions up like we always do. So the first question we're going to cover is, can we trust the Bible? The second question is going to be, how did we get the Bible? How did the Bible come about? So, can we trust the Bible, John? I'm going to say scientifically it's accurate, historically it is accurate, logically and reasonably it's accurate, it's prophetically accurate, and it is provincially accurate. So we're going to take each one of those, grab a pen and a paper, and take notes. We're going to try to go a little slower here so you can keep up with this on notes. So jot down your first question, can we trust the Bible? I think that's the most important question of the two, and if you don't answer the first one, it's almost impossible to answer the second one and make people feel comfortable with the second answer. So. Well,
if you can't get an answer for the first, I don't think that if you can't depend upon it with some reality, and if there's no essence to it or substance, then it makes it very hard to, you logically won't trust it.
Yeah, so we'll start with trusting the Bible then. Scientifically accurate. Let's just quickly go over that. I know we go over this quite often, and we can make another video going more in depth in that because a lot of you have asked us to, and we will. And I'll connect that when I get the video made and edited. We'll stick that video right up here, and you can click on it. But until then, let's just do a quick review on how the Bible is scientifically accurate.
Well, a lot of people think that science and religion are in conflict, and there's some overriding view that somehow science is accurate and the religious people, or people that believe in a creator, are not in their right mind. They're somehow deluded. The reality of this is it should be cleared up, because it's not so much a reaction against people that believe in a creator. You see, the Bible, and as Christians, we're not a religion. In the message of the Bible is that God sought us out. God made the heavens and the earth, is stretching out the heavens and the earth, is doing all kinds of wonderful and amazing things. And in the midst of that, there's chaos, and there's struggles, and there's things that we all experience, pain, suffering, and loss. We all experience that thing. And the Creator, though, in reference to His creation, you can see in the Bible, it starts out, time, space, and matter had a beginning, that God is stretching out the heavens. So even before we knew scientifically that the heavens were stretching, the Bible said that the Creator was stretching. It's only logical to believe, and when you see the design, when you look at the lights on the tree, when you look at our bodies, when you have a computer, if you have any of that technology, it's connected to a designer, an engineer, or somebody that kind of put those parts together. It just doesn't work any other way. So the empirical, observable evidence is for a creator.
Now B is, it is historically accurate. Now you want to talk about it being historically accurate.
The Bible, now a lot of people want to throw out God, we talked about that. But God is a very reasonable and logical conclusion to the issue. when you look at history, people say, well, anybody that hears a voice of God must be insane or deluded. Well, the Bible actually is a revelation of a personal encounter with a personal God. The first books of the Bible were Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The books of Moses, those first 5 books of the Bible, called the Torah, were an account of God's talking to a man named Moses and told him, hey, I know what you were taught in your Egyptian schoolroom and by your Egyptian priest, that this happened. But I've got to straighten out the record. I made the heavens and the earth. So God goes back, and Moses didn't write the Old Testament, the first 5 books in the Bible, in Egyptian. That's really important. He wrote the first 5 books of the Bible in Hebrew, in the dialect of the slaves, in the dialect of the people. So he took a dialect, and he, directly in contradiction to his upbringing, he was 40 years a prince of Egypt. He knew all about the chronologies. He knew all about the issues. He knew all about their gods.
He was raised to be like Pharaoh.
Yes, he was going to be at least second in the command. And if his brother had died, then he might be first in command.
He might have been Pharaoh, yeah.
He might have been Pharaoh. But the real thing that you have to see about Moses as a person is that he didn't write in the dialect of the educated populace, which he was educated in. He wrote in the dialect of the slaves. And the story that he told was in direct opposition to what he was taught in the house of Pharaoh and as an Egyptian. Now, so, is the Bible historically accurate? Yes, it is. Because everything in the Bible that you can see, there was actually, and I don't think that anybody can deny it, there was an Adam and Eve. There was the first 2 people on earth. Mm-hmm. There's actually a place called Eden. You can actually locate it. Mm-hmm. And there's been people dig it up and look at it. Well, it doesn't look like it used to look. And surely it's changed through the ages. And we're pumping out the oil after the Great Flood. So was there a Great Flood? Well, how do you account for all the oil deposits? How do you account for all the other different things? So when you look at the flood, when you look at the history,
the fossil record,
hey, the fossil record shows that everything popped into existence. We call it the Cambrian explosion.
That's right.
Hey, there was a bunch of animals. And you know what the strange things about those animals are? They look the same that they did today.
There's no missing links, and you don't see people. It'd be like Star Trek. If we had missing links and if everything was being evolved, we would still be in the process of seeing some things, if not all things, still evolving. And I don't mean just like whales evolving into whether they can fit into ice, or polar bears, whether they can live on ice or not. We're talking about evolving like Star Trek type stuff. We're talking things coming out of the ocean with arms and legs and things. You would still be seeing it evolve. It just didn't, everything just didn't all of a sudden evolve and everything stopped evolving. That wouldn't be happening. Everything would still be crawling out of the sea or coming down from the stardust, whatever, and we'd be seeing a lot of new species, and we would be looking at each other like he'd be blue and I'd be green. I might have a spine on top of my head coming up and around like a cap or a helmet, and he might have like hair down to here and bushed out to here looking like something out of Star Trek. But we're not seeing that. The species have stayed the species that they are, and that's what we've seen, and that fossil record proves it. Archaeologists proved it. I mean, they can't, no matter how hard people try to prove that it didn't happen the way the Bible says, all they end up doing is proving it.
And that's really important to see. We looked at a dog today, and they said they have a new species of dog. But actually, if you look at the original dog, like Lexi, or a wolf, they have a lot of things going for them. They can smell, they have sense, they have all these sorts of things. In the dog species that you have, it's not a gaining of material, it's a loss. So the species, we looked at the dog today with Janie, and the dog was hairless. Well, if you look at Lexi,
it was like a hairless beagle type dog. Yeah. It was almost like a blue tick, like the hunting blue tick, and look at it. And now what are they going to have? They're going to have a possibility now where they've bred an animal that can only breed so far, like a mule, and then it's gone. Who would want to do that to an animal? To me, it's cruelty.
I think that in all the breeding that we've done, you still have a dog. You have a dog kind. You have a very hairless dog. And we have some really weird looking cats. I mean, we bred cats so they don't have hair anymore, and they can't be viable in the natural world. So it's not evolution in the sense that it's being taught.
John, what did it take to do it, though? It took an engineer to engineer their DNA to do it.
It did, and it took an engineer to set it up initially. And God...
Procreation. Remember, like when you have a baby, or when you interfere with even these test tube babies. All you're doing is you're not creating like the Creator created. It's procreation. You're recreating the will. You're just recreating it. And that's what you're doing, except some people are missing with the DNA. The Lord said not to do that, though.
It's pretty dangerous when you start doing that on the level, because you get a dog that's hairless, cannot smell any...
Let's just talk about plant life in general then.
Well, we bred plants to the point that you can't get the seeds anymore, and it's people are moving toward outlawing the collection of seeds, but that's the way it was done for centuries.
It's population control. It'll soon lead to genocide.
Well, you'll have a population that doesn't have anything to eat.
And who controls the food will be the God of the people. And this is where the Bible mentions this. That's why Joseph, it's okay to store food. Joseph teaches us that. Remember, the Bible is a revelation, and we are going to get to that in just a minute. All right, we're back. Lexi just had her bath. She's all wet.
So the history that you're presented as far as an evolutionist view, we were talking about dogs. You had basic kinds of dogs, and whatever your view is in reference to this, there's not really time to go over all the details here. But there's a loss of information. The information we have in the Bible, though, is accurate with history. Once you get to Abraham, there's no dispute in reference to that Abraham lived, because we know the byproduct of Abraham's existence was the Jewish nation.
Okay, so that was, so far we've discussed scientifically accurate and historically accurate. So now let's talk about the logical and reasonable accuracy of the Bible. What is the logical and reasonable accuracy of the Bible?
Well, if you look around and you see design, it's only logical to look for a designer. And that leads us back to the Creator. That there had to be a designer, an engineer, or somebody that's doing and propelling things on to a good outcome. If you have a bomb and it explodes, you've got chaos. And a lot of people are working toward a chaotic, disorganized world.
That's what the devil wants. We've got people in cults that tells us that's what the devil, Satan, was talking to them. Let's keep everybody in chaos. Let's murder people.
That a logical person, when you're thinking, how you think controls what you do.
That's right. That's what he was saying. Get pulled in, you get drawn into things. It's like getting pulled into a gang, and you really think that you have no choice. Even in prisons, they say you have to take a side. There is no neutral in between sitting in the picnic table in the middle and staying alone. To be safe, you have to pick a side. And once somebody draws you into an environment like that, you just have to turn around and run. Don't start hanging around those types of people. They were going down the basement, drawing pentagrams, and sacrificing their dogs and things. And these were people of money. And now he's sitting in prison. So. Well,
he's sitting in prison, and his thoughts, here's what changed him. It was the Bible.
It was the Bible. When he started realizing that there was somebody greater than Satan. Satan wasn't the king. Satan wasn't gonna. He took a fall. Satan wasn't going to give him the sitting next to the throne. And Satan makes promises, but let me tell you something. Satan is not sitting in the position to give promises. He can make you famous and rich on earth, but you are of the world. You must be of God. And you can get through God through Christ. Christ is the only key to that door. He's the key.
Well, it's important to know that the Bible is very logical.
It's a narrow
and
way.
That if you start reading it from cover to cover, you'll find out either it's true or it's a lie.
Yeah, it can't be both.
We're saying from the very foundation of Genesis on through the Bible, that there's evidence that demands a verdict, and you can pick up Josh McDowell's book. It's a good read for you. But even with what we're just telling you limitedly, you can know just by taking up the Bible. The Bible is logically presented, and it's in a revelation with people that have encountered a living God.
And don't just pull out scripture, or don't just stop at a location statement. That doesn't make any sense. Remember, God always answers your questions. You have to read on. And it might be reading the next chapter or two before you get your answer. But just keep reading on. Jot down your questions and read on. And you'll see that they do get answered.
Give you the answers. Now, polygamy is mentioned in the Bible, but God said, I made one man and one woman, and that's the way that I had made it to be. Murder is in the Bible, but it's not encouraged. It shows Cain killing his brother Abel. So logically, if you have a logical mind, which we all do because we believe the Creator gave us that, logically, if you open the Bible, you'll find it logically, and you'll see in God's Word, hey, people are killing one another, they're hurting one another, they're doing bad things. Those are not what God wants you to do. He wants you to do the good things. Oh, hear, O Israel, hear, I am the Lord your God.
God said you can overcome it. You can master these thoughts you're having. Evil is desiring to have you, Cain, and he did not master it. It was his choice not to master it. God made it very clear to him he was able to master it. And listen to the prisoners that are sitting in prisons that will tell you they wish that they had somebody telling this to them before they entered gang life, before they entered into a world of crime and cults. These people aren't stupid. They're extremely intelligent. Psychopaths are extremely intelligent. You know, we all feel we're a little crazy. We're all a little insane here or there. You know, we've all fallen into temptations. We're all of sin. We all have sinned. I can't sit here and tell you that my sin is less than your sin. You know, I had somebody ask me one time, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. Draw a line on a piece of paper. On one end, I want you to put Hitler, because we're all familiar with Hitler. On the other end, we're all familiar with Mother Teresa. So put Mother Teresa. Now ask yourself, you got a dot here for Mother Teresa, a dot here for Hitler. Now where on this scale, on this long line across your paper, do you put yourself? What kind of person are you? And I went like this, and I went, well, I'm nowhere near him. I'm probably somewhere over right in here in the dot. You know, she's here. I said, probably right in here, I guess. I'm a sinner. I don't know. And I started kind of putting my line here and back again. And I kept trying to judge myself. Well, I really, you know, I'm not good and I'm not really bad. And I've done bad things, but God's forgiven me. You know, I had all these things and I really couldn't place myself on that line. And then I realized that I wasn't on that line anymore. That God, through my sins, when I repented of my sins, He threw them in the deepest sea. And that we will all kneel before Christ. We will all kneel before Christ and be judged. And the church will be risen. And I thought, I will be with Mother Teresa. Mm-hmm. I will. I'm a good person. I've been forgiven. And I am, although I'm not perfect. And although I'm not an absolute, and although I don't have every answer to my questions, because trust me, as scientists, we have a lot of questions that we have too. But we do know one thing. Science, provable, touchable, visible science. Proves what, John?
It proves the Bible. And it's very consistent with the Word of God. It's very logical. So if you take the approach that the Bible is logical, and you read through it, and you try to gather the wisdom that's in there, then you're going to have less problems with what you're seeing. Now, if it upsets you, just know that it upsets us too.
Yes, that's right.
Because I see myself in that. Well, it talks in the
confusing.
Bible about rightly dividing the Word of God. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of preachers out there that will ask you for millions of dollars and every last cent that you have. We're not asking you for a dime. Because we feel like that God's led us to this ministry so that we can answer these questions. Is the Bible logical? We said that it's scientifically accurate, that's historically accurate, and it's also logical. You know, it gives us a guide for how we should treat one another, because God says, love me and love other people as you do yourself.
That's right.
So that principle could solve all the world hunger, all the world's pains, and all the world's issues. Well, and we do what we can.
And we do what we can. But what we teach you is about the Bible so that you can learn to do it as well. We're sowing seeds into you. We're sowing seeds. We want you to learn so you can share.
And somebody else is trying to sow seeds into you too.
That's right.
And what you need to ask yourself, me and Janie talked about this last couple nights. What do they really want to take you to? They want to take you to death.
Death. No hope.
No hope. And the only hope that we know, and the only logical writing that we know that's scientifically, historically, we're going to talk about some other things,
reasonably correct,
and logically correct, is the Scripture.
It's the hope of the promise of the Messiah.
Yeah.
So the next point, point D, is it prophetically accurate? Is it prophetically accurate? And is it, and we say, yes, because of the foretelling of the Messiah promise, and he did come. That's just one example of the Bible that makes it prophetically accurate. I'm going to give this example. Okay, I'm going to give this one example. You know when something comes true. When someone predicts it and it comes true, it's prophetically accurate. You know, you can pretty much put your trust in it. I mean, history tells whether it happened or not. If somebody tells you something's going to happen and it doesn't happen, like all these say, oh, God's coming tomorrow. Christ is coming tomorrow. I know it. He told me at noon. All of them make for nice fictional movies in my book.
But they're not reality.
They're not reality.
And when you see the Bible in reference to its context, he told Abraham, Abraham, I'm going to make you into a great nation. Well, he did that for Abraham and the children of Israel. Prophetically accurate. We'll go back and prophetically accurate. Throughout the Bible, the theme of the Bible is the Messiah promise. From the beginning to the coming of Christ,
right, and
to the end of the age. Over and over, if Janie can put the link here on the Genesis videos that we did, if you go with us through the 50 chapters, you'll find out that the message through the beginning to the end of Genesis is actually, there is a Messiah coming. There is a hope. There's something that's going to fix the mess that we're in. And the Messiah promise, we believe, came true in Christ.
All right, we're back. We have scientifically accurate, historically accurate, logical and reasonable, and we have prophetically accurate. Now, and we have other samples of that coming up in a minute. Now, E would be provincially. That's provincially accurate, and how the historical impacts us on the Bible. So we're going to be provincially accurate now. So our first one, my first example for this was actually you inspired this one. It was our medical impact, or our medical aspect is one of our provincially accurate demonstrations of how we know the Bible. We can trust the Bible.
Yes, medically, Jesus and Jesus's teachings changed the scope and the influence in reference to care for the needy and the indigent and those people that were unwanted. In the ancient societies, they'd look at you, take you away from your mother, take you to the cliff if you didn't pass the test, and throw you off to be eaten by the beast.
The Spartans. The
Yeah. Spartans,
the 300, remember they did do that. If you was anything wrong with you, or they didn't think you were going to grow to be, you know, how can you tell when a baby is a newborn, or even a 1-year-old, whether or not it's going to grow to do great things? I mean, they didn't even keep them for their smarts. Think about how many babies were thrown over cliffs because they didn't think they'd be good warriors.
Well, in a lot of societies, that's how they treated people that were called out or unwanted. Jesus said that we should care for those people that are in need. One of his parables, he talked about the rich man and Lazarus. Every day, what do I do for God, everybody says. Well, what you do for God is when God puts you somebody in your way to help, then help them. Now, this man...
Or be helped. Don't deny getting help either.
Yeah, I
think... to it before the fall is a true statement.
Well, true. And so whether we're being helped or we help somebody, but you worry about everything you can't control. But this man that Jesus told the parable about, every day he walked over the person that was in need. Every day the person watched them eat. and desired to have the crumbs off of their table. So every day, in reference to what happened there, that tells me that what Christ really calls us to do is not so much what we can't do, but what we can do. And love our children, love your wife, love yourself. Don't do injury to yourself. And try to help other people as the best you can. So in reference to that, provincially, God, throughout the ages, medical care came alive in the teachings of the church.
The Red Cross, the American Red Cross.
Yes.
You notice they call it the cross, the American Red Cross? They did it. They were Christians. It was a Christian...
the Christian's influence on medicine and the helping of people is astronomical and enormous. It's the reason we have the health care that we have.
It's the healthcare system we have today, Doctors Without Borders. We can go on and on with that aspect. So some more provincial impacts that the Bible has had, that we know that we can trust the Bible through the impacts that it has had on nations. That's what we're talking about right now. Besides medical, I also talked about technologies, and I think our technologies, and I'm just going to let you explain it, because you explain this better than I do.
The Bible is the foundation for our Western civilization science. It is not atheistic evolutionary thought. It's the idea that God created, He's a creator, and we can design things and we can create after thinking His thoughts. Now, who did that? Kepler. If you look at the heavens and you look at the planets and how they move, Kepler was a Christian. And we still use his stuff today.
That's right.
Newton was a Christian. Maxwell, that laid the foundation for our modern physics, was a Christian.
Our modern science today, created by Christians.
Yes, Faraday. Electromagnetism. A lot of the things that we enjoy in reference to electricity and stuff were a direct result of his electromagnetic studies.
And what do they have in common?
They have in common that they all believed in a creator, and they had in common that the Bible was the Word of God.
Somebody wants to go to bed. She's brought you her ducky. Her bedtime ducky. She's had that since she was born. All right. So now we've covered whether or not we can trust the Bible or not. And I think that we've made some really good top 5 valid points here. And I think we've demonstrated them very well. Now, this is just a really good example. When you're buying and purchasing land, and the guy shakes your hand and says, yes, the deed is yours for $25,000. The deed is yours. You shake your hand, you walk away. When you go to closing on that land, or did someone else go to closing on that land? That's how I could tell how honest John is. Did it happen? Do I now, for $25,000, am I holding the deed to that property? Or is someone else holding the deed to that property? If someone else is holding the deed to the property, his handshake isn't worth the amount of paper he was willing to sign on it. It's not worth. A man is as good as his word, and God keeps his promises. And again, the prophetically accurate part, the provincially accurate part, you can tell by, is the man of God, is he holding his promises? Does God hold his promises? Did Christ hold true to what he said? Yes, and by the way, Jesus did preach creationism. He preached creationism. So
Jesus believed in the law of the prophets and the writings. If I, as a Christian, where I stand, I'm not a follower of Darwin. I'm not a follower of some of these other people. I do follow Jesus the Messiah. So if Jesus said that the Bible is historically accurate, even Jesus' word is verifiable. Historically, we have more copies of the New Testament, and they weren't something that the Pope decided to do. The books of the New Testament were gathered up by the church. And people in the church, it was a life and death thing. How do I know
they were being persecuted, is what you're saying. He's saying they were being persecuted over what they knew and what they had. So now we're going to move on to part 2.